This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have back with us Marcelo Brazzi, the author of How Liberals Change the World from Long Beach, California. It's exciting to have him here with his background. My goodness, there's so much to him and the work he has accomplished. We're excited he's back to talk, and we're going to talk about his work, obviously, with NASA, with his book, and also we're going to find out a little bit about what he says is the biggest problem happening in the world. So welcome back. How are you, Marcelo?
Thank you. Nice to see you. How you doing?
You too. I'm doing fantastic. You probably better. It's always great to see that ocean view there from Long Beach. So, for a little overview as to who you are, what you do, I know you got an amazing story. Just tell your audience a little bit about you, and then we'll start chatting today. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, okay. Just a little bit of my background. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I moved to California to work on the Apollo moon landing project, and been living in Southern California ever since. I have three kids, two boys and a girl. The boys have all been very successful in their careers in entertainment and computers, and done outstanding work. My daughter, she was a Playboy centerfold a few years back. And so they're all grown up now. And yeah, I'd like to talk about something I think is very, very important. But, the thing is that a lot of people aren't getting all the information. And that's probably the prime reason that I wrote the book, and then I written op-ed articles. I'm trying to just give everybody the information, and a lot of people don't have it. So I'd like to cover some of the issues and numbers about regarding healthcare in America. Healthcare in America is, people think it's the best. Well, it's as good as other countries, but it's way, way, way more expensive. I'm going to talk about some expenses, the healthcare performance, and the causes for the expenses. Hope I can get that all in. And if I'm running late, give me a holler. First of all, some examples of healthcare expenses in the United States. One night in a hospital in the USA is $4,000. In Spain, it's $400. For a heart bypass in the United States is $75,000. In Holland, it's $15,000. Get a knee replacement in the United States is $25,000. In Spain, it's $8,000. A couple more. Childbirth in the United States is around $10,000. In Argentina, it's only $2,000. Those are some expenses just on a comparative basis. Let me mention some drug prices. Again, drug prices are really out of control. I mean, everybody knows that. Just a couple of drugs here. Enbrel in the United States is $3,000. I don't know what the dosages are, how to use it or anything. Just all it says is that Enbrel is $3,000. In United Kingdom, it's $1,000. Celebrex, $330 in the United States, $51 in Canada. Something called Copaxone is $4,000 in the United States and $1,000 in Spain. One more, Gleevec is $8,000 here and $1,000 in Canada. So the picture we're painting here is that the overall expenses of American healthcare is very, very high. I have some more stuff here. I'm not going to go into that. But the bottom line is that we don't have universal health care like every other country does. Pretty much every. I got some numbers on that. But the bottom line is that in America, we have all these companies, hospitals, drug companies, insurance companies, all that whole big system. Well, the whole system is engineered to increase profits. I mean, that's normal, right? Profits are, name of the game. However, in healthcare, it's profits override the people. Well, in other words, if they have a choice between giving you lower prices or making more money, they're going to go and making more money. Excuse me. One of the complaints I get when we talk about healthcare in other countries and how cheap it is and all that, one of the common replies is that, well, those other countries, they don't give very good service, they're terrible. They don't have all the facilities we have. They got to wait in line and da, 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 da. Well, the bottom line is that we are not that bad compared to other countries. Again, let me give you some numbers. I'm kind of a numbers guy. My engineering background, I just believe in data. I don't like opinions. A lot of people just got opinion about this, opinions about that, but I believe in getting the facts. So you just I'll let a few minutes or seconds to cover how America compares in service to the rest of the world. There have been surveys done about the overall rankings of things like care, quality, access, efficiency, equity, healthy lives, per capita expenditure. So there's a whole range of things that they looked at for all the healthcare services in the other countries. And on one summary, they have 6 countries: Australia, Canada, Germany, New Zealand, and UK. Out of those 6, the US is rated the bottom. So in other words, there's 5 other countries in all these categories, like I mentioned: quality, access, efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. On an aggregate basis, the United States on this survey is not on anywhere near the top. It's pretty low, and so I mean that goes back to the question of profits versus people. I mean, if you want to make more money, you got to cut corners, and that's what happens. Let me just talk a minute about what causes the expenses. First of all, in the United States, we have all these insurance companies, and they all have billing for various procedures. They got a billing for this procedure and that procedure, and brain transplant gets one procedure and whatever. They have coders, and a lot of people are not aware of this at all. The hospitals have coders. These people have to assign codes to all the different procedures by all the different insurance companies. Well, that turns out to be a major project. To become a coder, you have to go to school for 4 months, and it costs you $4,000 just to become an insurance coding for hospitals. I saw one reference. I don't think this seems too high for me, but the one reference said that this coding is 30, and the overhead, I guess, is 30% of the total healthcare cost. Well, that seems high to me, but anyway, it's high. And it amounts to hundreds of billions of dollars. So this is a whole big overhead scheme, or whatever you want to call it, system that no other country has. I mean, they have, we're the only country that has all these people working on this overhead of assigning codes, and nobody knows about these things. Another thing people might not be aware of is I have here the compensation for healthcare CEOs, insurance companies, hospitals, and drug companies. I have a list here of 15 top CEOs, 15 guys. The first one at Pfizer is paid. Now this is an old list because they're probably paid a lot more today. But when this list was prepared, the head guy at Pfizer was getting paid $26 million a year. And there's a whole bunch of them. They're all around 20, 15, 19 million dollars a year. All these guys. The lowest one on the list was at Eli Lilly at only 14 million. Well, that I don't believe giving a CEO more money is going to help the healthcare system. In fact, his salary goes up when the profits go up, and the profits go up when the service is cut. So he's actually paid more money to provide less service. And this is another part of the expense of healthcare. Let me give you one good example. Back in 2003, Congress is working on, I think, some government Medicare drugs or something. And it came to a guy named Billy Townsend. He was on the committee, on the Republican committee of working on this. So Billy didn't know when they had to come up with a scheme to distribute medication and drugs. They wanted to come up with some rules and regulations and that. So anyway, Billy didn't know where to start, so he goes and talks to the drug companies, and he tells the drug companies, "What do you want to put in this bill?" And he put in exactly what the drug companies wanted. In other words, the drug companies wrote the law that affects them sale of drugs. What the law was that there was no bargaining, no free market, no capitalism allowed in the area of drugs, and in special area. Well, it's funny. I mentioned this to some of my friends, and I said, that back in 2003, the Republicans made free market capitalism illegal, and they said, no, they can't believe it. No, and then I show them the numbers, and they just kind of walk away. So, I mean, this is just one more area where, the whole system is controlled by the medical companies. They have mostly Republicans, but some Democrats too. They sponsor them and that, and so they get whatever rules they want. Like I just went through a whole list of things: the drugs, the procedures, the coding, all the overhead involved. And other countries are much less than that. We're way more expensive than any other countries, and we don't get any better service. Our service is about equal, in my opinion. It's good or bad, but it's not like other countries are getting totally ignored, or people are dying or whatever. The other countries, they have very good health care, but we pay a lot more for ours. Again, it comes down to the political game of sponsoring candidates, and he'll push through laws that you want. So in my words, it just comes down to profits over persons or people. Let me give you one more item on universal health care. In 1949, I think it was under Truman, universal health care was proposed. Well, it was rejected mostly by Republicans. There might have been some Democrats in there, but basically the Republicans opposed any kind of health care. Well, people don't know what it is, or maybe they do. I have a list here of 32 countries, and there's probably a lot more. All these countries have universal health care, from Australia to New Zealand, the United Kingdom, France, etc., etc., etc. The first universal health care was passed and promoted in 1938. That's a long time ago. 1938 was the first universal health care by Japan and New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, pretty much all the countries have gone to universal health care.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned, the universal healthcare systems are very good. People in other countries, they can't believe what we have for healthcare. I one time had a visit from my girlfriend in England, and I had a little accident, it's a minor accident, and they took me to a hospital nearby. And my English girlfriend, she was wondering, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" They don't have universal health care, and she was all worried and bothered. And anyway, it worked out okay. I had my insurance covered and all that. But I'm just pointing out that other people are amazed at how poor our healthcare is, how expensive it is,
Mm-hmm.
and the service is any better. And it's all a big political game that people need to be aware of. That's my biggest concern, is that people have to know these things that I've just mentioned. A lot of it, more of it's in my book. Um, so it's a big issue, and the problem is people are not aware of all these things like the coding and uh, the, the, the making illegal certain drug transactions and the CEO salaries in the $30 million. You know, let me make a comment about that. Um, when you're a CEO that's getting millions of dollars, you don't want to rock the boat, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to
Yeah.
you don't want to do anything that's taking a chance. So they basically not all, but I mean, there's a tendency among CEOs to just kind of not do anything revolutionary, to try to just keep things going as they are. And I mean, I think it makes anyone believe that if you
Mm-hmm.
went out and hired a top guy, education, a record, a resume, experience, knowledge, all that stuff, he would be a great CEO. And guess what? He would
Mm-hmm.
do it for $10 million. You don't have to give him $30 million to. So I'm saying there's thousands of good qualified people in the United States that would capable of doing healthcare. Uh, but for some reason, these CEOs are getting a lot of money.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, I've been talking a long time. You any questions or complaints that you might have?
No complaints whatsoever. But I know when we spoke last time and the times before that, you have such a plethora of knowledge that I sit here and I'm absorbing everything. Again, I'm still fascinated in awe about your connection and all you've done, gosh, with NASA, which just inspires me. But for those that don't know, what made you write this book, How Liberals Change the World? And by the way, where's the second, third, fourth edition, right? Because there's a lot happening right now, Marcello. So tell us when are we going to hear more? Because all your articles and everything you talk about, is it in the works for another book?
Well, I've been thinking about it, but the original book had a different title and it's a little bit older. So the latest one is this one where How Liberals Have Changed the World. That's the basically a second edition. There was an earlier edition. So, but um, I think my my uh, take is just people have to be aware of all the things that are going on, and that's probably the biggest reason I wrote the book, is because all these things, like there's some of these things that we mentioned about healthcare. The average person doesn't know anything about coding for insurance billing, or about uh, canceling the free markets, or CEO salaries, any of that stuff. All they know is what they are told. They are told, well, if you had universal health care, you're going to have terrible service. Well, there's another way of that doesn't come true, is because if you got money, you can go out and get your own health care. You don't have to be part of the universal health care system. You can go out and get your own insurance from another company. That's the way they do it in Canada. In Canada, if you want your own special provider or whatever, you can have it. You don't have to have. You're not locked into the universal healthcare system. So Anyway, nah, I don't know if I was going to write a book today. I'd be, it's, I don't, in the same vein, if you want to talk about today, the, Trump's record is very few, well, on the right, the MAGA group, they have very little understanding of what he's done. All they know is what they were told, and that they don't know of anything else. For example, they are not aware of all the lawsuits he's lost. He was found guilty of embezzlement. He was found guilty of fraud. He was found guilty of sexual assault. He was found guilty of 34 business felonies. And all of these were multi-million dollar awards. And that's just a tip of the iceberg. It's just a tip of the iceberg. There's so many things that have been happening. And I'm kind of reluctant to go into all that. I mean, it's just, I try to get, my op-ed articles usually are more current. And I think we need more shows, TV, podcasts, whatever, along the lines of what you're doing, and just basically not. I don't want to pump up one side or the other, but I just want people to have the information. Like I just went through all the information, and when I give this numbers and facts and figures of history, um, they people I often get a comment, "Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that." Um, that's a healthcare, but in the big picture, um, all the progress we have experienced has been due to liberals. Now, Republicans have desperately tried to change the definition of liberals. They don't want to, but in the book, I have a dictionary definition of what a liberal is. And that's the same thing in every country, in every language, at any time. The liberals are people who are open to changes. They're open to new ideas. They're,
Yep.
they had just an open mind to move ahead with progress, whether it's human relations or anything. Well, if you go back over the history, pretty much all the progress we've made has been progress in making changes, moving forward. One of my favorite examples is women voting. The conservatives, oh my God, you should see some of the things they said about women. I put them in my book. They say, well, if you let women vote, they're going to go crazy. Women don't know what they're doing, and they should just stay home and take care of the babies. And they have
Yeah.
no idea. No, they actually came, they were saying this kind of stuff. And they opposed it, and it took a long time to get women to vote. They were the first trying to promote it in around 1850, but it kept getting sidetracked and eliminated, whatever. And then finally, or I think 1920, they finally got the right to vote. But that's just one item in the progress liberals have made. Liberals are basically responsible for the 40-hour work week. They're responsible for getting overtime. They're responsible for paid vacations. They're responsible for ending slavery. That was a big change, of course. So anyway,
Wait,
the
hold on.
thing
Are liberals for the new 3-day work week? Longer days, less days?
I don't know. I don't know. When I was working, we did go to a 4-day work week. I
Ah,
think I think 10 hours, four
yeah.
days a week. Yeah, I like that because we had three days off, and so I don't know if that's a liberal or conservative issue, but yeah, I when I was working, we always it was very everybody, and we got the same work done. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't do it all the work we had to do. We did it, we got it done.
I think it's more. I think people are more productive. I think in a 4-day work week, I think we'd be more productive. To be honest with you, that's my opinion because we're going to work those extra hours, but to know we're going to have those 3 days off, I think it makes for a better whole society. But I know that everyone's arguing over that now, whether that would ever change or not.
Well, yeah, I mean that's trying to define 5-day work week. It's traditional. It started
Yeah.
before that. Before that, believe it or not, people were working 7 days a week, sometimes 10 hours a day, and that would, oh, damn it, Um, it was standard, working long hours and getting very little pay. And then one of the biggest things that changed all that was unions.
Mm-hmm.
When the unions got started, they started negotiating for a lot of these benefits, and that's when things started to change around. In fact, I have data, number, and statistics that um, the if you look at the standard of living, uh, it started to rise right after the World War II, and unions were strong in all the various industries. And pretty soon the middle class started becoming the middle class.
Yep.
Prior to that, there was the lower class and the upper class. But
Mm-hmm.
once the unions start negotiating for more pay, more vacations, shorter work week, all that stuff. And then during that period, pretty soon, all the middle class people all were owning homes. I mean, we were all probably raised in a house that your parents owned. But if you go back, decades before that, middle class, very few of them owned homes. So again, my point is that there's been a lot of progress
Mm-hmm.
um, in things like that. The civil rights law and
Yep.
and other things like that. So that's why the title of the book is "How Liberals Changed the World." And I can go back in more history, but I do that in the book. I don't want to go back all over the history
Well,
of
it's up to
how.
you. We got 2 minutes left.
Well, if you want to go back just a little bit, um, I take the philosophical big picture approach, and for most of humanity, we lived under kings and peasants. We didn't have a democracy of any kind. It started to change with the invention of printing. Once we had printing, pretty much a lot of people were able to read and learn things. Okay. And they started to learn about options like democracy and things like that. So, able to speak was one quantum leap, writing another quantum leap, printing another quantum leap. And our latest quantum leap was electronic communications, TV, radio, and everything like that. So anyway, that's the progress liberalism has made over the years. And to think liberals are something other than what it means in every language, that's not right. So anyway, it's nice talking to you today. I hope everything is going well.
Good as it can, right? I'm excited because spring is here. I get to look out your window and I'm just like, okay, yeah, things could be better. The sunshine brings so much out of you, and it's happening here in New York soon. It's on its way. Always puts me in a much better mood. I have my New York City background here, which is fake right now, but we got over some rain yesterday. I'm feeling good today, and I can't complain. So thank you for sharing, for being here. If we want to buy your book, how do we do it? How do we contact you?
Oh yeah, I should mention that. Go to the website www.howliberalschangetheworld.com, and it's all one word, lowercase. If you go to that website, you'll get information on me and information on the book and how to buy it. That's www.howliberalschangetheworld.com.
Perfect.
Pretty easy to remember.
There is. Thank you so much. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk soon, Marcelo. Bye. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. You're a great host.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.